On this episode of the Neo Marketing Podcast, I talked to Pritch one day after returning from the PRSA Icon National Convention in Boston, Massachusetts. Hey, Pritch, good to see you again.
Thanks, man. It's great to be back.
Back in Oklahoma after spending some time in Boston at the PRSA Icon National Convention. So what was happening out there? What's hot, what's not in the world of PR and corporate communications right now?
Yeah, I think this was one of the better conferences that I've been to. It's been kind of a regular thing for the past 16 or so years. And this time there were a lot of crisis communications sessions. I think that'll probably be a staple and going forward. It was last year, it was this year.
That makes a lot of sense for the PR industry in general.
Absolutely.
Right? Sure.
Yeah, kind of a core skill.
Right.
There was lots of talk about diversity and inclusion, as you would imagine, and that's good. We need to have those conversations. I'd like us to go a little bit deeper than talking about it in terms of race and gender. I think there's a lot more that we need to discuss in terms of diversity and inclusion.
For sure.
But there were one or two really interesting kind of cutting edge things. The dark web was one of the sessions.
Scary.
And how to handle your reputation when you get a big hack.
Online reputation is definitely sort of a hybrid between PR, traditional PR, techniques, and the new tools, right, of the internet, right?
Right, absolutely. Some sessions on change management.
One of my favorite topics.
There was some research that was thrown in there. One of the sessions was the best and brightest of the International Public Relations Research Conference. I always love to go to that. And some good keynote speakers this year. So all in all, it was worth the effort to run out to Boston and back.
The PR industry is looking forward, embracing technology, embracing new ways of communicating, in the modern era, right?
As I said, core things that we need to continue to talk about. But it's always exciting to go to the conference because there's always one or two really cutting edge kind of sessions. Sometimes they deliver, sometimes they don't, but that's a conference. That's what happens when you go to a conference.
So what was the most interesting thing you heard, whether it's a speaker or an attendee or just something over dinner in the couple days you were there?
Well, there was a fairly significant effort outside of sessions to try and delve into diversity and inclusion at the assembly luncheon. After we had presented the certifications in education for public relations, 15 schools this year.
Nice.
A lot of them were recertifications, but then we had about an hour-long leader storm. That's what he called it.
Oh, okay.
Brainstorm for leaders, and made us delve into what we can do to advance diversity and inclusion down the road. Again, it was my chance to offer some comments that we really need to go deeper.
Right.
And hopefully that input, all of the delegates were in there, 150 some odd folks, leaders. And I hope that the feedback gets mushed together and becomes something that we can move forward with.
For topics like diversity, or new technology, things like that, though, an organization at the top level, like PRSA, they can only kind of give some guidelines and some motivation, but at the end of the day, it's going to happen grassroots, right, on the ground at the very local level.
Yeah, I mean, it is at its root a membership organization, membership association. So I think there's a responsibility as leaders to kind of set the course. But then, nothing happens without it happening at the chapter level too. So chapter, district, national. I think national is leading the conversation, which is good. But I think we're also listening to district and chapters because nobody's got a lock on the great ideas.
That's true. Speaking of leadership at PRSA, you also were elected to a leadership position for the Southwest District, correct?
I am now the official Southwest District Director for 2018 to 2020. very honored and privileged to hold that position.
Wow. 2 years. That's
2
a good
years.
one.
It's a 2-year term.
Right on. So what would be some of your responsibilities?
Well, again, the strategic vision. We have a strategic plan. I was fortunate enough to work on that from the very beginning, and then they made the board made the smart decision, in my mind, to continue the strategic planning committee after it was implemented, so that we could then kind of track it. And Joe Troncal, the COO, has put a dashboard together that makes that process a little simpler.
A plan is only as good as the measurement.
Absolutely. And so we've got some really great measurement, and so we're 1 year into that. I'm excited that I'll get to do the last 2 years of that and probably begin the process to extend that strategic plan beyond 2019.
Well, congratulations. I think you're going to be fantastic in that role.
Thanks.
You add that to being a PRSA fellow.
I do.
And then what year were you Educator of the Year?
2013.
I tell you guys all the time that my man Pritch knows what he's doing. He definitely knows what he's doing. Shaping the minds of the young people at the University of Oklahoma, for sure. So you had to travel a little bit this week.
Right.
On a personal note, like, do you like travel for business or for pleasure, or would you rather stay out of airports for the rest of your life?
Yes and no. I mean, travel isn't what it used to be. I think anybody out there who's been on an airplane recently knows that. This was a smooth out and a smooth back. When travel gets interrupted, of course, it's really frustrating. I enjoy it. I used to travel about once a quarter when I was in the Navy, and I think that's just about right. I could not be a road warrior. Some of the folks that I met at the conference are on the road like 50 or 52 weeks, and boy, that would get old in a big hurry. It was good to come home.
That's one of the reasons I got out of the music business, was the travel. When I was 20-something, travel was easy.
Oh, yeah.
The closer to the 30 I got, the harder it was.
Yeah.
And we started the Golden Group 5 years ago. I was doing a lot more travel because we were going back and forth to Philadelphia. Now with Felicity and Sean out there full time, don't go out there as much. Although I have a trip scheduled.
Awesome.
Felicity called me last week, actually, while you were in Boston. Called and wants me to come out there and do some stuff with a couple of the companies she's working with. So I'm looking forward to that because I haven't traveled in a while. So it kind of goes back and forth. I actually travel really well alone.
Right.
When we go on trips, my wife and I, she has a completely different look at travel than I do because I've done so much of it, and she hasn't. So I try to remember that not everyone travels the same way I do.
Right. Exactly.
Another great episode, some great information from Pritch from the PRSA Icon Conference. He'll be in a leadership role there for the next 2 years for sure, probably after that as well, trying to shape the PR industry and the young people at the University of Oklahoma. And then what we're going to bring to you in the Neo Marketing Podcast about ways you can take all of these ideas, tactics, techniques, strategies, measurements, and incorporate them into your business. That's what we're here for. That's what we talk about every week on the Neo Marketing Podcast. Until next time, good luck.
Ciao.